distribution to thousands of deserving families across Pakistan and to our oppressed brothers and sisters in Gaza. This Eid al-Adha, give Qurbani from the comfort of your home in UK. Visit aghoshuk.org and share the joy of Eid. Donate today.
هل تعلمون تحياتي عند الحضور إليكم أنا إن رأيت جماعة قلت السلام عليكم.
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 6 o'clock.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Inspire FM. This is Friday Night Live. My name is Safar Iqbal, and with me is ABC Abu Bakr Cooper. ABC.
We got there eventually.
Assalamu alaikum. We are here today. We are going to be replacing the usual team who present Friday Night Live. I do partly host Friday Night Live, but ABC has recently joined the team, mashallah, on a voluntary basis. Assalamu alaikum, ABC.
Wa salam. How are you, bye?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Welcome to the show. As usual, we are going to be discussing things which are pertinent to the Muslim community, things of interest to Muslim community. And obviously, Gaza is top of the list. Gaza is of interest to the Muslim community, and there's been lots happening in that front. What caught your eye, ABC? This week from the Gaza news headlines?
The biggest thing was the beginning of the week. The British guy, Tom Fletcher, who's a previous British ambassador, who's now the UN's chief person that organises humanitarian aid for the United Nations, and his speech literally going out to the whole world saying how desperate the situation was. And well, really, it's been a complete game changer.
I think he said something in the region of within 3 days, 40,000 babies or 20,000 babies will die.
14,000.
14,000
yeah.
would die, and that was really, really, really heart wrenching, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think since then there's been Gary Lineker.
Yep.
He put his career online to support the Palestinian cause.
Yeah. All I can say is God bless him. He's a man clearly that speaks from conscience. And there's been reports about saying whether he should or should not have said what he said, but I think nobody can doubt his sincerity at the absolute horror that we've all been seeing opening up in front of our very eyes on the TV. I mean, last night I was watching the ITN news coverage, and there was a little boy there, literally sitting there in the hospital, and you saw everything. His right arm blown off.
Wow.
I mean, how bad do things have to get? I mean, of course, 1,139 people being killed 2 years ago on the 7th of October shouldn't have happened. It was awful that it happened. But how, when is revenge enough?
Yeah.
We're now at 54,000 people dead.
Well, we've got somebody who can comment on that from an expert position. We've got Ismail Hassoun. He's a BAFTA award-winning Palestinian producer. He produced the State of Rage documentary on Channel 4, or film from Channel 4. Can I welcome him first of all? Assalamu alaikum, Ismail.
Assalamu alaikum. It's Assalamu alaikum. It's an honor. It's an honor actually to join the panel.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today. It is a big honor that you have joined us, to be honest. Yeah, because we are broadcasting locally to Luton, and the UK scene, basically through our partner radio stations, but also across the world through our social media. We're small by comparison to some of the things that you've worked with before. So we are honored to welcome you to our program. And I just wanted you to perhaps comment initially on, there has been, in the political scene at least, there's been some words from UK politicians, from our Prime Minister, stronger words, and our Foreign Minister as well, some stronger words about what's happening in Palestine. What was your reaction to the comments that you heard?
Well, honestly, I really appreciate the international efforts actually that the world trying to put in order to stop the violence against what's happening in Gaza. And Israel is crossing the lines, is going behind the expectations, keeping bombing hospitals, breaking the international laws. And this is a massacre that should stop. And or the world's leaders trying somehow to set plans for the future to stop that. And there is no whatsoever consideration in the process. And we actually try to approach any international institution that may we call it just to stop these kind of actions, because at the end that we have like victims, we have children, babies, women, and many Palestinians have been innocent killed in cold blood, and they are not the ones who to blame for all of this.
Indeed. I think you're from Jenin, which I think is in the West Bank. Do you have any relatives or connections within Gaza?
Sorry.
Do you have any relatives or family in Gaza, and maybe family has been affected?
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just asking if you have any family in Gaza. I know you're from Jenin, which is in the West Bank. Do you have any family in Gaza?
Not really. No, I do not really. I have any family members who live there. No.
Right, but you're following the events closely and what's happening there. So in terms of, I think you commented on welcoming basically the comments that have been made by foreign governments, but do you believe that's going to change the situation in any way on the ground? Do you think Israel is in any mood to listen to the comments, the criticism that's been made of it from all Western countries apart from the US, basically?
If there is actually more pressure, that might help somehow, because mainly we are focusing on the U.S. Decision to push forward toward toward moving actually the actions. And this is actually, I think that these kind of pressures the world's leaders must have over the U.S., and then the U.S. actually push forward Israel to stop this. And it could, I mean, what's going on could actually stop in a blink of an eye if this kind of pressure increased. And we hope that, like, also the violence is going also in the West Bank. It's not also in Gaza, but it's what's happening in Gaza is so massive and opens the eyes of many leaders to act out immediately.
I mean, the American leadership was Donald Trump, etc., was in that region recently. Do you think, in your opinion, the regional sort of leaders of the Middle East would have had some conversations with him about the situation in Gaza? Do you think they would have influenced him in any way?
Basically, actually, the Arab leaders they care more about the interest that they are having for the countries. They might actually open actually that bring that into the table if they are in need. If the U.S. basically in dire need actually to their let's say the fuel. So I'm just saying, like, I think that they will keep it that way until somehow figured out how the pressure can be acted out.
And the other thing that's happened recently, I guess, is Israel. It looks like there has been some pressure on Israel to open up the borders for aid. Do you have any news or any update on whether that aid is actually reaching the people that are needed? I understand the limited amount of aid is getting through. Any news or thoughts on that?
Well, the trucks are been supplies and everything have been prepared actually to cross actually and into the strip. But they're actually also, we should not forget actually, we have like the settlers actually blocking actually the aid, and it could actually open also the space for them actually to go, for these trucks actually to go through, and it's a matter of time. Once actually, I mean, it's a matter of time once these trucks actually enter. But with these massive operations conducted inside, things may escalate, and it could change.
Indeed. And I guess in your opinion, the actual Palestinian Authority, I don't hear very much from them. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Is the Palestinian Authority actively doing something in the background to alleviate the suffering of the people of Gaza in their limited capacity, I guess?
Well, the Palestinian Authority at the moment are busy in the West Bank, and somehow they are trying to do something, but they seem like they don't have. They are following the Israelis' policy, and it's a state is similar to the Arab world. They need to gain financial interest to feed their employees at the moment, and they feel like powerless. And they can't actually help the Palestinians in Gaza. So basically, if they tell Israel, we need to stop cooperating, doing things, and act out on themselves in terms of helping the people there, this is may actually make a difference and help the Palestinians there, as well as the ones in the West Bank.
Yeah, where do you think, personally, from your perspective, where do you think this is all going to end? Where is this heading? Where is this going to end? When are the people of Gaza going to stop, I guess, being victimized?
Well, it's never known actually. It's more like international orders that controls actually what's going on in the region. Like Israel is controlled basically. I mean, it's doing what it needs, whatever it takes, only just to control the area, and it doesn't care about what the Arab world, what the US says. But at some point, there must be some kind of procedures conducted from abroad that may actually, for example, cutting off the supplies, the military supplies of Israel. This kind of pressure that may help actually at some point to make the war stop and get to its limits, and bring back the peace actually to the strip.
Indeed. And I guess the other thing that's happened recently was there's a massive march in London and perhaps across the world as well in support of the Palestinians. When you see images of that, what goes through your mind? How do you feel? A lot of people say these marches don't mean anything, but what is that? How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm as a Palestinian, I feel so proud because these kind of marches will open the eyes of other million peoples across the world to wake up that there are some peoples who are being bombarded and suffer under extreme siege, where they can't do anything, and they are trying to convince actually those who have no idea what's going on to act, to raise the voice of the Palestinians, to more to reach out leaderships, to act out immediately toward the Palestinian cause, especially stop the violence in Gaza.
And do you think that the populations within places like, say, I don't know, Jordan and Egypt, do you think they are feeling the same feelings that people in London are perhaps feeling, and are they expressing them, in your opinion?
We have seen actually other marches conducted in Jordan, in some Arab countries, but most likely they are silent. We need to break the silence to stop this genocide. So I am me myself as a Palestinian surprised of the world's populations of how they actually conducted these marches to modify the current situation, but not the Arabs. This is surprising. I mean, I'm just blaming the Arab leadership first. They must actually act out, and then we will consider other those who are in the weak and powerless positions. So,
but do you think the Arabs leadership are in a position to react? Because a lot, like you say, a lot of them are very focused on very internal matters for themselves. If they were able to do something, do you think they're capable of doing something?
well, first, as I said earlier, probably they tried to feed to serve their political interest, serve their communities, and then later on they will care about what is called the Palestinian cause. So this is really painful for me as a Palestinian to look at that, to look at it from that way, because I feel like we are just numbers. No one cares about us. The Arabs, they do not move. So we look at the. So that's why I am surprised of the status of those who actually making marches across the world.
But as you know, maybe not so much right in the Middle East, basically, right? But around the world, even in America, in the campuses, the university campuses up and down, people are risking their futures. They're risking their education, basically, to voice their disagreement, I guess, with what's happening. And there is a lot of support, I guess, ground level support in many capitals, to be honest. And I think that trend is changing, is my opinion. ABC, your thoughts? Is the situation, is the mindset of the people, I guess, changing?
Break. No.
Ismail, just my name is Abu Bakr. Salam alaikum. I'm just going to
Yeah.
give my thoughts, inshallah. I think we're at a cusp now. The Western leaders really are beginning to wake up. I think they really need to think carefully. How much is this little foreign country really politically worth to us, compared to the wealth of the Arab nations that have done nothing over the years but be very strong friends to the UK? Our continued unbridled support for this little country has damaged us as a country, frankly, beyond what I could ever imagine the UK standing could ever fall to. And for this reason, our government really, really needs to think, is it worth to keep blindly, and that is literally it. We literally blindly give 100% support to this little country because it's what America wants. Why do we have to be the little poodle dog constantly to America? Honestly, as a Brit born and bred, I am sick of it. It's demeaning to us. We have a voice. We should be standing up for what is right and honourable. And we've got we've got MPs standing up, Kit Morthouse this week in the House of Commons, literally saying, we've done everything, we've asked nicely, we've pleaded. Have I got to stand here and beg now? Beg for you to act, not words. He's saying this to the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy. You know, never in my life have I seen MPs literally starting to turn like this. The Father of the House is now also openly standing up saying that this has to stop, and he's withdrawn support for Israel. You know, our government, let's be clear, we very clearly know we are on the wrong side of history here. And let's be clear, you know, let's not forget the ICC have issued arrest warrants. Arrest, can you imagine it? You know, we keep hearing from this little country all the time that it's democratic, blah, 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 blah. You know, let's be clear, an arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court has been arrested for Prime Minister Netanyahu, and we're still supporting them. You know, have we lost our minds in this country?
Indeed. Just find a few thoughts from you, Ismail. Just a couple of, we've only got about 5 minutes or so, but any final thoughts from you? Ismail, you still there?
Yeah. What I'm just saying, like, we keep listening and there is no action on the ground. So this is our pointless efforts of dropping suggestion, and we want to do this, we want to act out immediately, and no one seems to be doing anything. And we see actually the genocide constantly on the news and feeling hurt, honestly, hoping this to stop.
Yes, there are supporters out there for you, Ismail, lots of them, and in their millions, and as the chant goes, in their billions. So take heart from that. There is support for you. Jazakallah, thank you very much, Ismail, for taking the time out to speak to me today. Assalamu alaikum.
Thanks, Salam. Thank you.
So ABC, there's a protest going on today, even today, outside Downing Street. So do you think again the pressure is building up? There's a change in mood in the political scene, but is it sufficient to take practical steps like boycott?
Well, when you've got a Brit, Tom Fletcher, who is the head of food distribution for the whole of the United Nations, literally sitting there, and let's remember he was addressing the Security Council of the United Nations. So we need to be clear. He is literally addressing. He was literally making a plea. He was boldly, essentially making a plea, because what, you know, and bless him, he was clearly an honourable man, and he's literally seeing what is about to happen. Children are going to be dying. They are dying. We've seen the pictures. We've seen the pictures of emaciated children. I haven't seen things like this since we had the severe famine back in 1984, when the musicians got together and launched Live Aid. I mean, we need to be clear what is happening here. This is a famine of biblical proportions about to happen in front of our very eyes. And this isn't by accident. It's by complicity. And let's be clear, our government is saying that we cannot, for example, break the chain of supplies for the F-35 jet, because if we break the chain, it won't be just Israel that is affected, it'll be other countries. Well, here we go. So what? You know, this is our tax money that is paying for this. And it is bombing people. They have no army. They have no navy. They don't even have an airport, let alone an air force.
Or even homes, to be honest.
Yeah, 90% of the buildings are gone in Gaza. You know, listeners, just hold on to this little fact. Jeremy Corbyn, he was a previous leader of the Labour Party some years ago. I'm sure you remember. He stood up earlier this week in the Commons, and Jeremy Corbyn is very good on facts and figures. 5 times the explosive power of what was released on Hiroshima with their first atom bomb has been exploded on Gaza. 5 times the equivalent of the atom bomb on Hiroshima. There is nothing left. There is literally no future there. There are no homes. I've just been reading online now. 96% of the hospital infrastructure it's gone. And guess what? They just bombed another hospital today. Now, let's get this into our minds. As a country, have we lost our minds continually supporting this? They're bombing hospitals. Where is there any norm for this? If Putin was doing this right now, we'd have all of the news outlets, every single one of them, saying that he's a war criminal. We all know this.
I guess from the Israeli perspective, they have claimed that they are.
Look, it doesn't matter. Look, right. If one terrorist runs into a hospital, okay, let's assume it's for bad reasons or good reasons or whatever. Does that give you the right to then level the hospital, send all your bombs on it when it's full of nurses, doctors, it's full of patients? This is against international law. And our news outlets don't talk out about it. Our government, right, is doing what? What are they? How are they talking about it? They say, we condemn in the strongest possible terms, verbatim. This is what we've heard the Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary say at the dispatch box in the House of Commons, right? I've been a teacher my whole life, and there's the most effective saying as a teacher, okay? It goes right back to my first days as teacher. When you're dealing with difficult children in the classroom, don't threaten, act. In other words, if you do that again, I'm going to do this. And then they do a bit more. If you do that again, I'm going to do this. You don't threaten, you act. You say, right, I'm ringing your parents. I'm going to do this, right? We need action. Action. Send the Israeli ambassador packing. Send her home. This is what needs to happen. Suspend relations with these people.
A lot of passionate words coming out there from ABC. Jazakallah khair for that. Listeners, we are doing a special on Gaza, as we always do on Friday Night Live, inshallah. We're going to continue after this short break, and we're going to have an interview with the former High Sheriff of Bedfordshire, and we're going to talk about the Hajj preparations. As you know, Hajj is around the corner. Assalamu alaikum, inshallah. We'll be back after this short message.
أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وبعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته إنك لا تخلف الميعاد.
Would you like to sponsor the Azan? If so, give us a call on 01582 481810 or email us on info@inspirefm.org.
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 6:30.
So welcome back to Inspire FM. This is Friday Night Live. My name is Zafar Iqbal. I'm standing in for Abdul Akbar today, inshallah. Before the break, we were talking about the latest situation in Gaza. We had a representative of the Palestinian community at large. He gave us his views on how things were and what the outlook was. Pretty bleak according to him, but I must admit I am taking heart from the marches and the protests that people are doing around the world. I'm taking heart from people in America who put their actual education and their careers on the line, and I'm taking heart from people like Gary Lineker who put their careers on the line, right, to make sure that their views and the support that they have for the Palestinians is expressed, in the ways that they are able to. So we're going to move on to a slightly different topic. We're going to be talking today to the former High Sheriff of Bedfordshire, Bav Shah. He was one of the youngest ever High Sheriffs of Bedfordshire and a proud Luton native. I'm just going to get him to perhaps introduce himself a little bit more. Bav, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Do you want to carry on from there? So you're the youngest ever High Sheriff of Bedfordshire.
One of the youngest, really, possibly. I mean, the records go back to the 900s, so it's very difficult to actually confirm. But as far back as we can look, I believe it could be one of the youngest. I could certainly say that.
So it's pre-Norman conquest.
It goes back. It's the second oldest position in the land.
Wow.
So I got to, but yeah, in terms of my history, born and raised in Luton, very proud Lutonian, and
chartered surveyor
by trade. Yeah, so I studied real estate management at Nottingham Trent University and qualified as a chartered surveyor after that. So I specialize in commercial property.
Yeah, school governor, lots of grassroots initiatives that you've championed, celebrated local heroes. List goes on.
So locally, I was a governor at Woodlands School in Marsh Farm for a number of years, which gave me a greater understanding actually of people, children, and support for special needs, and just the wider sense of community around that. And then I was also the careers governor at Luton Sixth Form as well.
I visited there once. They do some fantastic work there.
It's one of the biggest sixth form colleges in the.
No, Woodlands.
Oh, sorry, Woodlands. Yeah, Woodlands do some fantastic work, and it was I would have stayed on longer as a governor there, but due to other commitments, I wasn't able to keep on there. But it was Luton's very much I've moved out of Luton so many times, but moved back to Luton so many times because home is home. That's where where it is. You got to look after your own and support your own.
Nice one. So what does the High Sheriff mean anyway? Because a lot of people understand MPs and they understand councillors and etc. What is the High Sheriff, and what does the High Sheriff do?
So the High Sheriff is quite different. It's a county-wide post, and it's totally independent, non-political. And the reason for that is because you're also the returning officer as part of your responsibility, and it's the second oldest position in the land after the Crown. So going back in history, there was, before the police, before the courts, the High Sheriff was the law and order. They were the Shire Reeve for the county on behalf of the King.
They were the gov then.
They were. You were a law order tax collector, so you weren't very popular. Right? And there's 55 High Sheriffs in the country, one in each county, and you were there. So essentially, until any High Sheriff now is more ceremonial. It's
representative
of the king. So essentially, you are the King's representative, the Crown's representative. So essentially, They can say they are your line manager, right? There's no one between you and them in those roles. But so if you go back, cast your minds back to pre-police, pre-courts, that's what the High Sheriff would do. So you were the equivalent of being the chief constable.
What do you do then if the position is ceremonial? What do you do? Just turn up to events and say words, or what do you do?
So you're there in a capacity to represent the crown for those matters, but also be eyes and ears in terms of seeing how things work, see how things operate, lend support to emergency services, to public bodies. And it's great because you get an opportunity to actually see the inner workings of how organizations work, the challenges, and how we can then use, once you're going around across the county and meeting lots of different organizations, how you're kind of like that catalyst to get conversations going and get help, try and get support. So as part of during my role, I went out on shift with the police a number of times as an observer. I went out, I did a 12-hour shift with the paramedics, work in the ambulance, observing what they do day in, day out. I went out in the fire engine, observing what they do. Went out in the police helicopter, observing firsthand behind the scenes, sat in the courts, sat behind the scenes with the judges, actually seeing with the coroner, with all different people to actually see what goes on and how.
So I guess you mentioned you're a returning officer, and I guess somebody who's apolitical has a massive role to play there, because I can imagine, right, on the election night, everyone's pumped up, everyone's wearing the colors effectively, right, and any which way we want to win. And I guess the returning officer is somebody whose words must be taken for
because you are, and that's the thing about this position. The position is you're totally neutral, and you have to remain neutral, so you're fair to everybody. There's no favoritism. You're totally fair, neutral. So even up to then, when there's an election coming, then there's certain events you won't go near because you don't want to be seen. You can't be seen to be showing any influence.
So Purdah is extended to you for quite a long time.
Yeah. So and it's it's only, I think it's fair because you have to remain neutral, because we have to, as a central figure who's a representative for the county, you have to represent anyone and everyone fairly.
And I guess there's the garb, because I've seen you in many events.
My uniform, yeah.
It's uniform. It's not really uniform. It's garb of sort, isn't it? Really. So.
Well, it's a formal uniform. It's a formal uniform. I mean, I feel often people call it a costume or an outfit, but it's a formal uniform for the post. But it's I mean, some people wear. I like wearing it. It just maintains a bit of tradition for the post. I mean, you get used to it because it's. I guess you've got to be a bit thick-skinned to walk down the certain streets and get comments from people, asking why you're walking down the street dressed like a pirate, as some guys stopped me in Dunstable High Street, or why I'm thinking of walking down the street, especially
fancy dress parties somewhere.
Yeah, fancy dress parties, or when it's Christmas season, people think you're an entertainer and walking down the street and Peter Pan and all sorts. But it's nice to have a show of tradition.
Actually, Bav, you'll laugh at this. I recently, so in Ramadan. North part of Luton, I work with a group called UK Islamic Mission, and we had a community iftar there.
Okay.
And I've forgotten her name now. The woman who
the new High Sheriff, Camilla.
Yeah. So she came, lovely person, and I didn't say it at the time, but I actually thought, yes, she looks a little bit like a pirate. I didn't say it, but since you've said it, I think I could get away with it now.
I have to go pirate. It used to be. I used to go in, and before, if people didn't know what my role was, particularly even adults, I naively thought that only younger people didn't know about these posts, but anyone, there's people across all ages, and you'd often get them. Are you the mayor? Are you the town crier? Are you pirate? Are you get all sorts of stuff? Are you an emperor? Are you get? But it's it's good, but then it's an opportunity to explain to people about. I mean, that's one thing. England's very good at traditions and cultures and things like that, which is why it's nice to try and maintain that as well.
I guess in the yesteryears, right, they used to come with the armor as well, which I guess you've shed. If they're the most unpopular people, right, because they were the law, I guess they want to be walking around with armor and all sorts of different things.
Yeah, so like you had the ability to form a posse. So before the police force was there, if there's some trouble outside, the High Sheriff could say, right, you, we're going to go and sort this out, and they'd have to listen to the High Sheriff. Then then when the police force was created, that responsibility went to the chief constable. Then it was the law side of it. Once you've arrested someone, what do you do with them? You were the equivalent of the judge as well. and then you had to sentence them. And then when the courts were created, the judges took over that responsibility. And then when Henry VIII was king, that's when I understand that the responsibility of tax collector was taken away, because he didn't believe that the high sheriffs were giving him 100% of what they collected. He thought they were taking their own tax. So it's a bit of a relief that when that was taken away from you. Otherwise, like you said, you wouldn't be a popular person. And that's why actually, because the roles are a bit different, because you don't apply to do these roles, you're nominated, so your name gets put forward.
Yeah, it's you're appointed by the Privy Council.
Yeah, so
that's a big thing, the Privy Council, isn't it?
Yeah, so and then they make the recommendation to His Majesty or Her Majesty. So my initial, so it's a 5-year process from being nominated to actually taking post. So my initial nomination would have been approved by the late Queen, which was nice to know.
What's the perks for you then as a High Sheriff personally? I guess
there's no perks. So in terms of the role, it's a totally self-funded role. We don't get a penny of the public purse, no expenses. Uniform we buy ourselves, travel we pay ourselves.
Wow.
If I had to pay for parking when I was coming here and I was in post, we couldn't claim the parking back from it. It's totally 100% self-funded. So people do say, well, so what's in it for you? And I said, well, actually, it was something which actually gave me an opportunity to give back to the community and try and do something better. So self-fulfilling in that sense, and actually to meet so many great people day in, day out. I did, I think, over 600 engagements throughout the year. Met so many people from so many different backgrounds.
600 engagements.
Yeah.
You were a busy man.
It was pretty full on, plus running my business. But it was good. But so what's in it for me is actually just meeting great people. Actually, from learning from other people, I got to actually learn a lot. It's very humbling, and meeting a lot of people in different circumstances gave me a chance to actually appreciate myself and what I was doing, my position. Gave me an opportunity to help people, and I said you can't put a value on that.
Does it affect your career though? Does it improves your career prospects that you are there?
So I was fortunate. I worked for myself, so I'm my own company. So I ended up doing nowhere near as much work as I should have done during the year, but that's part of the trade-off. You could take a year out to do anything in your life, but I just needed to do enough work to keep the business going. But you come across, you imagine, like I said, you go to so many different places, so many different people.
I mean, you
find yourself in so many sometimes some really difficult situations.
I can just imagine, because from when we had the Camilla, the recent appointee, when she attended our event, I mean, you must get to meet every group in the community.
Yeah,
you must get to know all of the. You literally must be witness to all of the good going on in the community, and literally be able to network with everyone.
So that's what I mean. So it was great to meet so many different people of different religions, different cultural background, different countries, different social backgrounds, and you actually be able to learn. And this is one of the messages that I was trying to get across in my year, was actually we've got so many great things happening in our town, and the role is across the county. So we're in Luton now, but I'll talk a bit how we are as a county as well, because Luton's a very significant part of Bedfordshire as well, and how Luton has a great impact on other parts of the county and further afield, and how we actually, there's so many good things going on, but a lot of time good things aren't communicated as quick as the bad things that happen. So it's not to ignore that we've got bad things happening, but really championing the good things that happen, how we shine a light on unsung heroes, groups that are doing great things, and encourage people to do good things. And where in a town like Luton, where you have so many different religions, different cultures, often people will look at it and think, well, actually, how do they all get on? What surely they don't get on. So actually, we have quite a good town of we have good multi-faith groups. We actually very strong in how we all work together. Like if you look at community events, like particularly you mentioned iftars, when there's iftars or Diwali or Vaisakhi, things like that, or Christmas, and different cultural events, actually you look at how all our different groups come together. Luton's actually, I think, quite a very special place in terms of our community cohesion.
Yeah,
and promoting and through these different.
It's true actually. When we had our event, we had representatives from the Hindu community, the Sikh community, and And what's nice is it's twice now I've been asked to host it, and it's nice. We see those same people. I've seen these same people, and I've hosted it for 2 years now, and it's really nice because you Ramadan, of course, you're like celebrating, and you want to celebrate. Well, essentially, Ramadan comes down to love, and you want to celebrate that with your neighbors.
Yeah,
And that is lovely. Seeing those people there, and the role that you have being able to see all of these events, I think is wonderful.
Indeed. Bev, I think we've run out of time. Got to take the next item on the schedule. It's been lovely chatting to you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you for coming down. Bav Shah, former High Sheriff of Bedfordshire, thank you very much.
Thank you all for this service you provide to the community as well.
Thank you.
God bless you. Lovely to meet you. Lovely to meet you. Take care.
Listeners, we're going to move on to our next topic of discussion. We're going to talk a little bit about Hajj and preparations for Hajj. We have Sheikh Yunus Doodwala with us. He's been on this show previously many a time, and he's an eminent scholar. He has a BA in International Islamic Studies from Al-Azhar University, and he's going to talk a little bit today about preparations for Hajj. Hajj, when I performed it, was a little bit different to now. The arrangements are quite different. So can I first welcome the Sheikh, inshallah, Sheikh Yunus Sahib. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah for joining me today. We've only got about 15 minutes or so, and Hajj is such a big topic. I think briefly we want to touch on if somebody's lucky enough to have been selected for Hajj this year. So just talk us about that process, basically, of being selected. How does one get selected now for performing the Hajj in the UK?
Jazakallah for inviting me today. I think, and salam alaikum to all the listeners. You're right. I think things have changed, especially after COVID. So previously, we used to go with groups. So there used to be groups that were kind of travel agents here, and they used to take 50, 100, 200, 400, 600 as part of their group, and they used to be responsible. And so one thing is that you used to know the individual that you're going with. Secondly, not only did you know the person that you're going with, but they kind of, you had a familiarity that the person lives here in this country, and they had some accountability. Now, since COVID, they started a new system, and this was in the making for a long time, but COVID gave them the impetus to start it immediately after COVID. And the system now is there's no more groups from this country. It's kind of an individualized system where you apply on an online portal, which is called Nusuk.
Yeah.
And everyone has to apply from this country, and there's a few other countries, the US, European countries. This has been brought into all of these Western countries, and then it will be rolled out to other countries as well. You can only apply through Nusuk. And the packages are made by Saudi companies. So you've got Al-Ithra Al-Khair, you've got MCDC, you've got Al-Bayt, you've got all these different Saudi companies, big companies, who are now responsible for the packages. And they're the ones who make the packages, they put it on a portal, and then you can decide which package you want to purchase. With about every 50 people, there will be one guide. With
150?
50.
50 people, okay.
So do they still call that the Mu'allim?
They call it the Mu'allim, yes.
Right.
But the issue for someone like a layperson who is booking on Nusuk, they might not even know who their guide is until after they've booked. Right? And like, for example, I'm a guide. Now, the people who have booked that package, which I'm a guide for, they will not have known that I'm the guide until after they booked.
Right.
Whereas previously, people had a chance to say, okay, these people I know, they're going to take this Mu'allim with them. He's a good guide as well, so I'll go with this package. Now it's just a bit random.
But what happens So this package, does that include the airline tickets as well, or is it just purely the Hajj practical
no.
aspect of it?
So, within the package, the Nusuk will tell you which hotels you've got. The Nusuk package will tell you how long you're going to stay, what are the dates. They will tell you what flights you will be on as well. But the other thing which you alluded to is after Nusuk, the prices have gone way
massively up. Massively up.
Yeah,
So what sort of price are we looking at, Sheikh Yunus?
Oh gosh, don't even ask. Unfortunately, so I know that before COVID, people used to go on good packages, very good packages. The best packages were about 7K. Best packages, 7K, 8K maximum. Now, a normal package where you don't have much choice in what hotel you're going to go, the choice is there, but the choice is not that very, it's not a very good choice. But that's going to cost, in terms of arm and a leg, maybe 12K, 13K, 14K per person. So between 10 and 15K per person.
Sorry, just run that by us again. Was that for the cheap one?
I don't think there's anything cheaper than 10. Maybe, I'm not sure if there's anything going for about 7, 8. I'm not sure, but even if it is, it's going to be the cheapest one is 7. But the normal average cost, you're talking about 10, 11K per person.
And that's if you are lucky enough to be selected. So that's the next step, isn't it? So you apply.
Yeah. So the other
when I went in 1998, we paid about £1,500.
I paid £1,500.
Absolutely.
I paid £1,400. 2003.
I'm starting to feel old now.
But then again, it wasn't much.
In those days, it was £1,500 was a really good package as well in those days. So, in answer to your question, sorry, what was the question again?
The question is if you get selected, because you can apply, but it's not necessarily that you'll get.
Yes, you apply for Nusuk through Nusuk, and then they take out the packages. And so, for example, this year they were going to take out the packages before Ramadan. You had to prefer your packages before that, and then when the packages became live, you have to then try and with your wallet, which has been already uploaded with the 10, 12K that you've put in the wallet, you have to then try and book your package. And when it goes live, there's about 3,000 people who are trying to book. And it crashes, and it crashes, and it crashes. Yeah. And some people are lucky, some people are not lucky. And like, I think this time around, there was about 3 rounds of trying to book. And eventually, I think most people who wanted to book were able to book, but it's not the best system yet. I think it's improving. I have to say that, from last year, it's improved this year, and hopefully through the transition period and the experience that they gain, hopefully it gets better.
But I mean, they've only allocated about, I don't know, 500 or 700 seats or something like that to UK.
Yeah. So I think, I think it might be about 2,000 maximum. Previously, before COVID, the UK allocation was about 25,000.
25,000, wow.
20 to 25,000 people used to go from UK. Now it's gone down to about 10% of that, 2,500, 3,000.
Because of the prices, or because they can't get on?
No, they can't get on. It's not because of the prices. There are still some people who wanted to go, but they couldn't go this year.
Do they get their money back, though? People who apply, they don't get it?
People who applied, they'll get their money back, or they can keep it in their wallet for next year.
Right. Okay.
And it will remain.
So so once you're there, previously you had the comfort of being basically chaperoned, so to speak, like you're saying. But is that still available, or do you get somebody who can't speak English?
No. So now this year I'm a guide. Now I'm supposed to be an independent guide through MCDC or Al Bayt or Ithra Al Khair. So I am kind of the agent for the Saudi company, and I have to be leading that. So instead of 50, I've got 44 this year. So those 44 are my responsibility, alongside the responsibility of the Saudi company. So
are you taking a sheikh with you, or not?
I am the sheikh. That's it.
So of course you are the sheikh. But if you weren't the sheikh, right, do they allow a sheikh with you?
No, that's the thing. That's the thing. So if somebody, just say you applied as a guide, you know, they might take you as a guide, whether you're a sheikh or you're not a sheikh.
That's what I mean, yeah. So you could be there, but with somebody who's a volunteer,
Yeah.
but doesn't know nothing about Hajj.
Yes.
And you could be sort of taken around. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So
but-
you're not actually chaperone like you did previously.
Yeah,
What about the transport, etc., between the various
that's all
places?
covered. That's all covered. That's all
Right.
covered. But you are only supposed to apply to be a guide if you are experienced enough. Now, if somebody's, but sometimes what happens is that some of these companies will say, okay, I'll get you in because you're my brother. I'll get you in as a guide because you're my niece or nephew or whatever, and they might not have even done Hajj before. So you know there will be that kind of thing. But I think majority of the guides are quite either they've done Hajj lots of times, or they are shuyukh, or and you know they know what they're doing. So that is.
So I mean, so when I so I'm going to go back a minute or so, but when I did Hajj 2008, there wasn't just one person. There's probably about, I can't remember, maybe 100 of us, but there's probably a good 20 volunteers who are
team, yeah, and that's what's missing now. That's what's missing,
Right.
because I went last year as well. The problem we have is that I'm the only guide. Now there is a team, but it's an MCDC team or a Ithra al-Khair team. It's the Arab team. The Arab team doesn't have that much English speakers, and therefore
That's a major problem.
yeah, major issue. But I'm not saying it's totally gone downhill. It's getting there. It's getting back. I would have to say that the Mina camps have improved dramatically compared to when we.
I've seen some pictures. Sheikh, I've got to leave it there because I'm running out of time. Listeners, this is it for today. Inshallah, next week we'll be back with some other topics of discussion. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, and listeners, until next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.